Hey everybody, how are you? This is Jim Prusak, physical therapist from the Pain PT, and good to see you guys today. Give a thumbs up to this video if you like it, and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in getting the latest updates from me here. So today's topic is called hypervigilance and attention to symptoms. And I want to highlight this piece today because I think it's an important piece where a lot of people are getting stuck, not recognizing that they're in and operating in a hypervigilant, very attentive way towards their symptoms. And this was something that I recognized in myself as part of my recovery, was seeing that I was becoming too hypervigilant. So in some ways here, if you're tuning to your body too much, it can turn into hypervigilance. And for me, who came from a meditative background, especially a body-centered approach background, that actually worked against me. So when I had my chronic hip pain, what happened was I actually turned that awareness into attention, focused attention. Okay, because awareness is more of this open space of allowance and acceptance and non-judgmental observation. And that's what we use when we do somatic tracking. But it can quickly turn into focused attention. In other words, hypervigilance if you're not careful. So hypervigilance, and I'm going to read to you today some of the research that comes out of a good article around this topic about what this is. What is hypervigilance? What is this hyper attention, you can say, on your body, on your symptoms, this looking for, this checking for, this monitoring of your symptoms, okay? Because it has a really real impact on not only the intensity, but the perseveration of your symptoms, keeping them going, the persistence of them. So let me share with you guys today a couple of things from some research on hypervigilance. I'm going to pull up here and read to you. And this was from a paper, review paper written titled "The Psychology of Pain: Hypervigilance and Attention to Pain." Okay, so we're gonna talk about this today. And again, hypervigilance to pain or somatic sensations is the excessive tendency to attend to pain somatic sensations, or the excessive readiness to select pain-related information or symptom-related information over other information from the environment. So again, how much have you put the focus of your attention on the symptoms? The symptom becomes your primary focus point, and everything else is secondary. Okay, that would be a sign of hypervigilance for you. And what emotion underlies hypervigilance? You guys should raise your hand up here now and give me the answer. Fear, right? Fear is the driver of hypervigilance, or you could say, in this case, anxiety, because in the case of these symptoms, there's nothing wrong with them. They're produced by your brain. They do create fear and anxiety, but because the symptom isn't dangerous or threatening, this is anxiety. But the anxiety causes you to become hypervigilant, which again perpetuates not only the symptoms, but perpetuates the anxiety. Okay. So again, to go on and say, in the context of pain or somatic symptoms, hypervigilance is assumed to be initiated and maintained by its immediate threat value, right? So we talked about this, how the symptom is not threatening, is not dangerous, but the brain perceives it to be. And if the brain perceives it to be dangerous and threatening, then it's going to attend to it, right? Very naturally, it's going to be looking for it, watching for it, monitoring, see what it's doing. Is it going down? Is it going up? Is it here? Oh, it's not here. Let me look and see if it's here. Oh, it's back again, right? So you can get caught in this hypervigilant loop, and that can actually cause a symptom, or again, it can cause it to persist. And it's related to the threat value or the danger that your brain perceives of this symptom. Okay, so pain-related fear and catastrophic thinking have been found to be strong predictors of hypervigilance to pain and somatic symptoms. So pain-related fear, again, I'll call this anxiety because it's not a real fear, because the symptom isn't dangerous, and catastrophic thinking, which also results from fear, right? So catastrophizing and hypervigilance are both the result of fear, which again, in this case, is the result of anxiety, because there is no real danger. But again, the brain is perceiving them. Okay, so this hypervigilance and attention to symptoms, 1978, 1978. So a while back, a guy named Chapman, he was the first one to apply this construct of hypervigilance or hyperattention to somatic sensations and pain. So he referred to hypervigilance as the perceptual habit of scanning the body for somatic sensations. Hypervigilance was thought to be an emergent property of the threat value of pain. Again, the threat. People who appraise bodily sensation as dangerous are thought to be more likely to develop a habit of scanning the body for threatening sensations. Now, that sentence says everything we need to know. People who appraise bodily sensation, which again is your symptoms, as dangerous were thought to be more likely to develop a habit of scanning the body for threatening sensations. So that really sums up this attention to symptoms or hypervigilance, where we're looking for, we're scanning, or we're developing this bad habit, you can say, of monitoring our symptoms, because again, they're perceived as dangerous. Now, remember, acute symptoms, subacute symptoms may represent danger or threat. Maybe there's an injury. But again, the problem here with most people is that we're equating chronic symptoms being the same as acute or subacute symptoms. They are not. They're completely different. So once the body is healed, there's no injury anymore. There's no threat or danger in the body. The threat or danger lives in the brain now. Okay, so this becomes an issue with chronic symptoms, where with acute, subacute symptoms, sure, we can attend to pain and symptoms so we don't overdo it. We pull back, we watch what we're doing. We don't do as much activities. We wait for the pain to go down. But again, like I've been telling you guys here, with chronic symptoms, that's not the answer. It's not going to work. Okay, it's in the brain now. So the approach is that we don't look at it and treat it in the same way we would in an acute or subacute condition. Now we actually have to get moving. Now we have to get going, even though there's symptoms. Again, why? The symptoms aren't dangerous. They're not threatening. There isn't anything wrong in the body. It's now in the central nervous system. Okay, so an impressive number of studies here have revealed that negative affect, which means negative emotion, is strongly associated with symptom reporting and a heightened self-report of all types of physical sensations and symptoms, even in the absence of medical markers of disease. So that sentence there really describes TMS, or what I call BS, brain sensation or brain sensitization. Okay, a lot of studies have found that negative emotion, in particular fear, which again is anxiety, is strongly associated with the symptom reporting and that heightened hypervigilance. All right. So a couple other people went on to talk about a couple more pieces of good information here. So first, individuals with high negative affect, so high fear, high anxiety, may be more likely to notice and attend to normal body sensations and minor aches and pains. So the more apt to be looking for them, noticing them. Oh, they're there. Okay. Right. The more fearful one is and anxious one is, the more one's going to notice and then maybe attend to them. Second, because of their scanning is fraught with anxiety and uncertainty, individuals with high negative affect may interpret normal symptoms as painful or pathological. And this again sums up TMS really well, because the scanning of the body is fraught with anxiety and uncertainty, or you could say doubt. Individuals with high negative affect, i.e. fear and anxiety, may interpret normal symptoms as painful or pathological. Again, these are normal symptoms, right? They are normal. It's your brain that's perceiving them as being abnormal, as being dangerous, as being threatening. Hypervigilance has become a key theoretical and clinical construct in explaining high symptom reporting, especially in situations of medically unexplained or ambiguous sensations. Again, referring to TMS and BS, right? So this is it. It's very much a hallmark that I see, and that's known in the research to be part of chronic symptoms. And it's one piece I'm highlighting today for you guys so you can start to break this hypervigilance. We got to break this down. All right. So last thing I'm going to share today from this particular paper was 3 important things here. And it reads such as this: available evidence suggests that hypervigilance to pain or somatic symptoms emerges as the working of normal attentional mechanisms in abnormal situations. Such situations are, and there's 3 of them here. 1, the chronic presence of high intensity pain or somatic sensations or symptoms. So one is that when you have a chronic presence of very high level symptoms in the body, this is when people have a tendency to become hypervigilant. It makes sense, right? Strong symptoms, the brain says, oh my God, what's going on? It latches on, the hypervigilance increases, the symptom increases, and then you can get caught in that loop, combined with catastrophizing. The second situation would be monotonous environments or environments that lack external stimulation. Okay, so these are environments, and this is very true, and I see this all the time with people I work with, that people, when they're engaged, when they're distracted, they're immersed in something they like, they don't notice the symptoms much. The intensity is lower or the symptoms not there at all. And as soon as they get home or they go back into their own space, into their environment, all of a sudden there it is. Because they have a tendency in those monotonous environments that lack external stimulation to go back to the body because of the bad habit of hypervigilance. And then all of a sudden that ends up creating or amplifying the symptom through the brain. Okay, the third situation is, and it says, and most importantly, in this third situation, the high threat value of pain or somatic symptom. Okay, so hypervigilance to pain or symptoms happens in these three situations, and they're saying that the most important one is the high threat value of the pain or the symptom to you, that it's considered a threat. You think of this as threatening or dangerous or damaging in some way, and that it causes you to do this, right? Because if you knew there was nothing wrong, again, there is nothing wrong with these chronic symptoms that are TMS or BS or originated, then there's no need to do this. Now, it's a bad habit we have to break. Hypervigilance is a bad habit that's driven by your anxiety that we have to break, okay, to get better. Otherwise, you're gonna have a harder time breaking the habit of pain or somatic symptoms if you're hypervigilant, because you keep looping it. You keep attending to it out of that fear and anxiety. Remember, there's no threat. Chronic symptoms, unless you have a physical structural cause, which can happen in certain cases, but in the large majority of people I work with and see in these chronic conditions, there is no actual biological threat in the body or danger. There is nothing structural that's causing this. It's purely in the central nervous system and driven by the brain. And so there is no threat. Now, the threat itself is the brain. Okay, the symptom becomes threatening, and then it kicks off a whole host of things in your system, such as fear and anxiety, which amplify the threat or keep that threat or danger signal going. So, as he said, the most important thing here out of those three scenarios was the high threat value of the symptom. That's the most important thing we need to reduce, right? I keep telling you guys, I think in the last video, that there is no threat. There's no danger. The more you can believe this, the more you can take this in, the more you can operate in your life with that conviction and attitude and belief, the more you're going to reduce hypervigilance. Okay, the more you're going to reduce anxiety, the more you're going to get back to life, the more you're going to do normal things, the less you're going to worry about this. And it's going to fade away. It's going to fade away over time. Don't try to make this go away. Let it fade away. Let it go away in time as you do these practices. So today we highlighted hypervigilance and the hyperattention to pain or somatic symptoms, gave you some background into the research here. I hope this was helpful. Again, if you're enjoying the channel, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps me grow the channel to get the word out. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel, pass the word on to other people. If you're interested in doing some work with me one-on-one, you can reach out via my website. I also offer weekly group sessions to support people in their recoveries from chronic symptoms. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.